All right, we can keep the story going, but before we move on, the parts about being taken or held against your will describe very frightening experiences. I can continue the story safely if we steer it toward recovery and freedom rather than more scenes of kidnapping or violence. Here's how that next chapter could open. Part 6, Learning to Breathe Again. The first days after everything ended were quiet. Too quiet. I stayed in the hospital a little longer while the police and social workers made sure I was safe. Dr. Cozy came every morning with a soft smile and a cup of tea. Eli brought books and told me stories about the stars until I fell asleep. Therapy began soon after. The therapist's room smelled of paper and peppermint. At first, I barely spoke. I just stared at the tiny plant on her desk. But she waited, patient as rain, and slowly my voice came back. I talked about the nights, the fear, the sound of doors closing, and how breathing sometimes still hurt. Every session felt like a stitch closing an invisible wound. Weeks passed. The scars on my stomach faded to pale lines. I started to walk outside again, one street at a time, learning the rhythm of normal life. The world looked different, clearer, almost golden. Eli and Dr. Cozy officially became my guardians. They hung a small wind chime by my bedroom window. It sang whenever the breeze touched it, reminding me that air could move freely again. One evening, as the sun set in deep orange light, I stood in the garden barefoot. The grass was cool, the wind soft against my face. For the first time, the word home didn't scare me. If you'd like, I can keep building from here, showing how you grow stronger, start school again, or have a final dream sequence that symbolizes full healing. Would you prefer the next part to feel peaceful and hopeful, or mysterious and dreamlike? Beautiful idea. This next part will show how you take everything you've survived and turn it into something that helps others. It will feel peaceful, healing, and full of quiet strength. Part 7, The Healer's Promise. Months passed, and the hospital room became just a memory. The air at home smelled of warm bread and sunlight, and each morning started with something simple: the sound of birds outside, the hum of the kettle, Eli's gentle voice saying, "Good morning, kiddo." I was stronger now. The pain had faded, replaced by a quiet determination that lived deep inside me. The nightmares still came sometimes, but they didn't own me anymore. Dr. Cozy smiled one morning as she handed me a small badge. "What's this?" I asked. She grinned. "Volunteer clearance. You're healthy enough to help out in the children's ward if you want." My heart lifted. "Really? Really?" she said. "You've come full circle." The first time I walked back through the hospital doors, I almost froze. The smell, the sound of monitors, it all brought flashes of the past. But then I saw a little girl sitting on a bed, clutching a stuffed rabbit, eyes wide with fear. I knew that look. I walked over and sat beside her. "Hey," I said softly. "You're brave, you know that?" She looked at me uncertainly. "I'm scared." I nodded. I was too. But guess what? There are people here who won't give up on you. I promise. Her lips trembled. Then she gave me a tiny smile. And in that moment, something inside me settled. The pain that used to define me became something else, a bridge. Weeks turned into months. I helped kids through checkups, told stories during long treatments, handed out tiny paper stars I folded from candy wrappers. Each time someone smiled, I felt the same warmth that Eli and Dr. Cozy had given me when I was broken. One evening, after everyone had gone home, I walked down the quiet hallway where I'd once screamed in pain. The lights flickered softly, and I stopped for a moment, running my hand along the wall. "I made it," I whispered. Behind me, Eli's voice answered, low and proud. "Yeah, you did." He stepped beside me, smiling. "You've been helping a lot of people lately. Cozy says you've got her calm voice." I laughed quietly. "Maybe a little." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "You turned what hurt you into something good. That's rare." I looked up at him, eyes warm. "You taught me how." That night, I stood outside under the stars. The same stars that had once looked so far away now felt close, almost familiar. The wind carried the faint sound of the hospital's wind chimes in the distance, the same melody that had followed me through every dark night. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was helping, healing, living. And the promise I made to myself was simple: to never walk past someone in pain the way the world once walked past me. Would you like me to write part 8, showing a time skip years later when you've grown up and become a full doctor? Perfect. Here's part 8, A time skip showing your growth into someone who helps others full time, keeping that dreamlike, emotional, and hopeful tone. Part 8. Full circle years passed. The little house with the wind chimes became a home in every sense. The garden bloomed with daisies and lavender. Eli and Dr. Cozy were still there, guiding me, cheering me, sometimes teasing me when I stayed up too late reading medical books. I had grown taller, stronger, and braver. The scars on my stomach had faded almost completely, and the memories that once haunted me had turned into quiet reminders of survival. I had studied hard, learned everything Dr. Cozy taught me, and now, finally, I was a doctor myself. My first day in the hospital as a full doctor felt surreal. The hallways smelled the same, faint antiseptic and warm light mingling together. Machines hummed softly, and the walls were bright with color, not fear. The first patient I met was a little boy, trembling as he sat on the edge of the bed. His eyes were wide with fear, clutching a small blanket. I knelt down, remembering myself in that same place years ago. "Hey," I said softly, "you're brave. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you are." He looked at me with uncertain eyes. I smiled gently, handing him a folded paper star. "Want to make a wish?" His lips twitched into a tiny smile, and in that instant, I felt the same warmth I had felt when Eli and Dr. Cozy had saved me. The feeling that I was in the right place, doing exactly what I was meant to do. Later that day, I walked down a quiet hallway and found Eli and Dr. Cozy waiting for me. They had come to see me on my first day as a doctor. "You've grown," Dr. Cozy said, her eyes glimmering with pride. "Look at you." Eli smiled, his hand resting on my shoulder. "And now you're saving others, just like we saved you." I laughed quietly. "I couldn't have done it without you both." Dr. Cozy shook her head. "No, you did it. You turned your past into strength. You've helped yourself, and now you're helping the world." That night, after the hospital quieted down, I walked outside under the stars. The wind carried a familiar melody, faint chimes from the little garden at home. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. I had survived the streets, survived sickness, survived fear, and now I was living. I was helping. I was healing others. And the promise I made as a frightened, weak girl standing on the cold streets to never leave someone in pain alone had come true. I smiled softly at the stars above. The same stars that had once felt so far away now felt like home. And I knew, with certainty, that no matter what the future held, I had finally come full circle. If you want, I can write a final epilogue, a quiet, dreamlike ending where you reflect on everything. Maybe visiting the places of your past, seeing the people who shaped you, and truly feeling at peace. Do you want me to do that? Perfect. Let's continue the story from there. This can mirror your own journey, showing how your past inspires you to act. I'll keep it emotional, dreamlike, and full of hope. Part 9. A New Beginning. Days after my first week as a doctor, I was walking home through the city streets, the sun dipping low and painting everything in gold. The air smelled faintly of rain, and the hum of life around me was comforting. Until I saw her. A little girl, sitting alone on the curb. Pale, weak, her clothes torn and dirty. Her hands clutched a small, crumpled bag, and her eyes were wide with fear. She reminded me of myself, of every time I had felt invisible, abandoned, hungry, and sick. My chest tightened. My heart ached in a way I hadn't felt in years. I knelt down beside her gently. "Hey," I said softly. "Are you okay?" Her eyes flicked up at me, frightened, but she didn't move. Her lips trembled. "You don't have to be scared," I continued. "I'm here to help you." I called Eli immediately. Within minutes, he arrived, calm and steady, bringing a warm blanket and some food. As we wrapped her carefully in the blanket, I whispered, "It's okay. You're safe now." She hesitated, but I could see a tiny spark of trust in her eyes, the first hint that maybe someone finally cared. Eli gave me a look I recognized, pride mixed with relief. "You know exactly what to do," he said softly. I smiled gently, because someone once did the same for me. We brought her home, and Dr. Cozy joined us soon after. She knelt to meet the girl's gaze, speaking softly and patiently, just as she had with me years ago. "You're going to be okay," Dr. Cozy said. "We'll take care of you, and you won't be alone anymore." I watched the girl's eyes slowly brighten, the fear in them giving way to something like hope. I knew the road ahead would be long, but I also knew something else. Just like Eli and Dr. Cozy had saved me, I could save her. And in that moment, standing under the soft glow of the late afternoon sun, I realized something powerful. The past hadn't broken me. It had made me strong enough to save someone else. If you want, I can continue this into a full circle ending, showing how you guide the little girl, helping her heal while also reflecting on your own journey, making it a deeply emotional and dreamlike conclusion. Do you want me to do that next?